to the business and the business atmosphere today than it did 30 years ago when we learned it from our mentors in our first company. And, I'm going to explain it along the way. April's going to chime in along the way, but do me a favor and take some notes, okay? Because I think you'll find this very beneficial and it'll certainly help you refocus your thoughts on business, especially refocus your thoughts on a new enrollment and what your responsibility is and what their responsibility is. And the one thing I'd like you to keep in mind is the new person that we enroll, the new consultant, they don't know anything, like less than zero. Yet we leave it up to them on what to do next. Think about it. We all do it. When I say we, I'm including me. Okay. We all do it. Okay. They've never built a business in network marketing before. And we get them started or enrolled and we think they just go do it. And we're all guilty of it. So what I want to do is I want you to understand, as an experienced network marketing person, you guys are all professionals. Everyone I'm looking at on the screen is a professional. You're no different than a doctor, lawyer, dentist, architect. You are a professional network marketing person. And, it would be like me going into a dentist with a cavity and me telling the dentist, well, I've never done this before, but I really think you should do this. I mean, and that's what we do when people start a business with us. And I want to go back to what we were taught in 30 years ago. And I really think it's more appropriate today than it was when we learned it. So let me share some slides with you. And again, please take some good notes here. I know we are recording this, but it always seems to help if you're writing down what's on your mind as it's being discussed. So, I titled this Mining for Gold. Okay. And there's a reason for it. And that's because there's a lot of gold in our downlines. Okay. But we only get to mine the gold. We only get it. Okay. When we find, help develop, and our building blocks in our business. We need building blocks. And I think you realize if you were mining for gold, how do you know what it looks like? See, you don't know what it looks like because it doesn't look like the gold watch you're wearing. It doesn't look like the gold necklace you're wearing. It doesn't look like that. It looks more like a rock or a diamond in the rough, because a diamond don't look like a diamond either until it gets cut. Okay. So we need to take responsibility for finding the next building block in our business. And I'll use a diagram to explain that. But again, screenshots and notes would be very helpful. So you enroll a new consultant, all right? And I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to give you ideas. But the one thing I want you to keep in mind, okay, is that new consultant begins launching their business the minute they hit the button and enroll. And there's no waiting for product to arrive. There's no waiting to get product results. The only time you do that is if that was discussed before the enrollment, and that was, hey, I'm going to get started and enroll. I know I get a better price as a consultant, but I'm going to want to use the product for the first month or two, and then I'll look at building the business. Okay, if that's predetermined, that's fine. But if somebody gets involved in the business because they want to make money, well, then making money begins the minute that they hit the enroll button. Okay. And the odds, and I don't have the exact number, but I believe it was 27 months. So I'm going to use that. Darren Jensen said this a few years ago when he was CEO. If you help your new consultant earn their first dollar in their first 30 days, They go from sticking around an average of 90 days to 27 months. That's the kind of importance that there is on helping someone complete the circle in their first day. See, in the beginning, they're a prospect. You're providing information for them to make a business decision. They make a decision and they enroll. And the completion of the circle that makes it all work is they earn their first dollar. But here's the deal. It's our responsibility, not theirs. See, they don't know what to do next. Do you follow me? Okay. We have to take responsibility because they don't know and we do know. And we can't be waiting for weeks because we lose the excitement of the moment when they made the decision and came to peace with starting a new business. And we can't afford to do that. See, you're the expert. You're the doctor, the dentist, the lawyer, the architect, the engineer. You're that person. Okay. You're the professional in this industry. You need to force the action. You need to make it happen. It's not in their hands, it's in yours. Now, it shifts quickly into their hands, but that's after the train is moving, not before it's moving. So, a good place to start is kind of like this. Okay? And you've heard Tara Wilson say this a million times, and there's a lot of different ways to say it, but who do you know? Okay? Who do you know? And I'm just giving you examples. Who do you know from church, at church? Who do you know at work? Who do you know from sports? Who do you know wants to lose weight? Who do you know that wants to earn money? Who do you know that's a ringleader? Do you know anyone who wants to lose their wrinkles? Do you know anyone that's ambitious? And of course, do you know people that want to be healthier or that retirement has just happened or it's near? Okay, those are all things to get the conversation going. And obviously, the answer to all of that is they do know people. Okay, that's the answer to that. But here's where you and I need to do a better job. Okay, we need to start doing three-way calls the first day. The new person doesn't even know what to say to the person that you want them to talk to. So you just say this. You tell them you're very excited. You just started a new business and you'd like to introduce them to your new partner. You use your own words, but don't fall into, I'll do it when I try the products. I'll do it when I've earned money. The person that buys a McDonald's doesn't give them the $1.5 million when they earn money. They give them the $1.5 million and then they earn money. Okay. And we always, people always want to reverse it. Okay. So we want to start those three-way calls. We want to start those chats. We want to start getting people on Zooms. Okay. We want to do in-person stuff, whether it's over coffee or a glass of wine or somebody's living room. We want to start them with posting on social media. These are things we want to do it right away. We need to work it like there's urgency. Okay. And you and I, we need to keep pushing it down. What do I mean? We got to keep pushing it down levels. Okay. And I'm going to show you a diagram in a second, but I want you to swallow this one for a second. Every level that we push it down, it multiplies by 5 times everything above it. So I'm going to show you some numbers in a second, but if you could see the gravity of what I just said, for every level we push it down. See, you know how if it's you and you get 5 people in the business and then those 5 people duplicate, well, 5 turns to 25. It's 5 times more than above. And those 25, if they get their 5, it's 125. 5 times more than the 25. Okay, and then it goes to 625 and then 3125. It just keeps going. Okay, so who's responsible for doing that is you and I. So you see to the left an example of the geometric progression and counting you as your first level. Okay, I only did 5 levels, technically 4 levels. You know, we do have the opportunity to get paid 9 levels. Okay, but I did not draw out 9 levels, but I want you to know it goes down twice as far as I'm showing. Okay, now that's the geometric progression. Where it says you, that's you. Okay, that's April, that's Fred, that's Kenneth, that's Jay, that's you. Okay. And you're 5, I'm using an example. Okay. You're 5, the 3 C's are 3 customers. Okay, they're 3 customers that are on Protandim or collagen or GLP-1 or P84, whatever it is. Okay, they're customers. But Tom and Mike are consultants. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about. Okay, when you get Tom in the business, the most important thing that you could do for Tom is everything within your power to help somebody enroll underneath him. I'm talking a consultant. A customer would be okay because the first dollar would get earned, but to keep pushing it down a level, well, I'm talking about consultants. Okay. Now, here's something that I want you to understand. In the old days, and I'm just going to go back 20 years, we've been doing this for 33 now with 2 companies, but in the old days, the average person that joined, the average consultant that joined, knew or had access to between 100 and 300 people. You know, there was no cell phone, there was no social media, internet was just getting started. Okay. So those were people they worked with, churched with, played sports with. It was, it was anywhere from 100 to 300 people. Today, most people have more than 1,000 in their phone alone, not even counting social media or any other means of how they know people. So, April, I'm getting a little echo. Is somebody not muted? Just check and make sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So here's the deal, folks. We got to do whatever it takes in that first week, that first 2 weeks, that first 3 weeks to help Tom and help Mike get their first consultant so they can earn their first dollar. Now remember, when you go down a level, see where it says where you got 5 people in, that's 5 people. When you duplicate that and go down another level, that's 25 people. Now look, it don't work perfectly. We all know that, okay? It's never going to work perfect, but I want you to understand the power of going down another level. Where do you think it's most likely where the odds are better of finding a building block of a person? And a builder, I'm talking about someone that becomes MC2, MC3, EC1 or higher. Okay, that's what I'm talking. Do you think it's more likely that you are going to personally sponsor someone in your first 5? That can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, and it does happen. But isn't it more likely that a builder would be in where there's 25 people versus 5? Okay. Or what about we get Mary under Tom and then we get Pat? Okay. And now there's going to be 125 people as that level fills out. Okay. Do you think we're more likely to find a builder where there's 125 people on a level? Absolutely. Okay. I can tell you in our career, April and I, and she'll tell you, the people that we earned millions off of and people that earned millions, they always seem to be in our third, fourth, or fifth level. That's where they came down. And here's something that's so valuable that if you only get one thing from what I'm talking about tonight, let's say, okay, we helped Tom get Mary, we helped Mary get Pat, and then Pat sponsored a builder. That could be anybody. You could name it. Could be, Sam. Okay, so Sam or Samantha, whatever. And then Sam has business skills. Sam knows how to do business. Sam has built businesses before. Sam has influence. Sam has contacts. Sam has confidence and goes out and builds the business and becomes an EC1, EC2. What does that do for Pat? Well, let's see. Pat sponsored him. Okay. Pat is going to get paid on that volume for the rest of her life. And Mary got Pat. Mary is also going to get paid on that volume for the rest of her life. And Tom got Mary. Okay. And Tom is going to get paid on that volume for the rest of his life. And so are you. Okay. But if you, and hear this, this is so crucial. If you don't go get Tom and help Tom get Mary, none of it happens. There is no 25 on the second level. There is no 125 on the third. There is no 625 on the fourth. Because you broke the chain. You either didn't do your part or you weren't willing or didn't care enough to help Tom get his first person. Now I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna spread this out a little bit. Do you think Tom is gonna be more excited when Mary gets involved than before Mary got involved? I would say absolutely. Do you think Tom's confidence will go up a little bit where maybe he might be open to getting that second person or third person? Absolutely. It just, the business just it comes in flurries. And that flurry comes from confidence, excitement, and people believing. And as soon as they get their first check, their behavior or their belief goes way up. But here's the other thing. If you look at you getting Mike and Mike getting Bill, and then Bill gets a builder, okay? You want to know something about builders? Birds of a feather. Have you heard that? They flock together. They know like-minded people. That's why if you've ever heard the saying in this business that they just got this one person and then their business exploded. It's because of the type of people they hang with, work with, play with, do things with. It's a birds of a feather situation. And when you get one, you tend to get a lot. Okay, that's generally what happens. And you see it happen in LifeVantage all the time. But here's something that's so important that we understand. We cannot blame the new consultant because they don't know and you do, we do. Okay? We need to force the action. And I mean in a professional way, in a nice way, in a courteous way, but we need to force the action. Okay? And one of the first things we need to do is go over and set up a to-do list with them right away. Why they're waiting for their product to arrive. And keep in mind, our compensation plan and our bonuses in our evolved compensation plan that we have now, that was designed, okay? That was designed to do what I'm talking about. It's designed to reward you and your new consultant for fast starts and earning right away. There's so many bonuses built in to what you get if you help them do and what they get if they do. Okay, it was designed that way. For what? Quick success, quick closing of the circle, quick payment, and it doesn't need to be hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars. The new person needs to see it work. Okay, they got to see that first dollar come in. That is the key to it, folks. Okay, everyone always wants to know what's the secret. Well, the secret isn't enrolling them and then leaving them alone and hope they figure it out. Okay, that's not what we do. Okay, the secret is, okay, now that you've enrolled, here's what we do next. Okay, and I'm going to share a secret with you, and I'd like April to chime in on this after I say this. Okay, you can't change the rules after they enroll. The rules of how you're going to go about pursuing this business has to be agreed upon before and not after. Both parties need to say, okay, let's go. Okay, that's the difference. To change what you say and do after somebody joins, that's not the right way to do it. It may work out sometimes anyway, okay, but that's really not the right way to do it. So April, before I go to the next slide, you got anything that you can add?
Yeah, I think part of it is, my close has always been, if you could have anyone in the business, or who are you thinking of, is even more what I say. Who are you thinking of, as we're closing this? Because if they have a vision of people, I think that's much easier. And I always write those names down and make sure we go forward with that. So I think that's kind of setting things in motion, knowing that those are the people. But I feel strongly one of the things that is happening these days, and it happened to Bobby and I, you probably heard the story, but I used Amway soap for years and nobody ever told me there was an opportunity behind that. I worked with my accountant for 11 years. He was in every company, never offered me an opportunity. So I think too often we are prejudging people. What made me, as Bobby was talking, is we used to have a list, and you wrote, and made, some of you will laugh if you've been around long enough, or you've been in the industry. You literally, it had your mailman there, it had the garbage man there, the FedEx guy. I mean, it had you think of everybody that, the hairdresser, your nail, it had you think of everybody, because you truthfully don't know what's going on, and I can tell you, the accountant, the people with the soap, nobody offered us an opportunity because they perceived that we were doing well. Even years after we were in the business, I spent a lot of time in the school, and, as PTA president and all those different things. You know what? When I was getting some teachers involved in the business, they asked somebody else what they knew about me. And all they knew is I had a nanny in the house in the car I drove. They never really even knew me. So if you don't let people know what you're doing, you're really robbing them of an opportunity. You're hurting yourself, but more than that, you're robbing them of the opportunity. A successful person is an easy person to talk about this business. Super easy. Successful people understand business. And there's a lot of verbiage out there that people are talking about as, linear income as opposed to leverage income. And leverage income is really big these days. People are super excited about it. So, and you may have to explain it and say, do you understand what it is? That's the beauty of our business. That's what gets people excited, the thought of having this leveraged income. So that's why sometimes we have to be the person's self-esteem. We have to be Tom's self-esteem and just kind of role play and let them get that confidence to be able to pick up the phone and talk to that person. Whether it's Mike, help him pick up the phone and talk to that person. And I don't mean literally. I mean, you can go sit at their house, or you could text back and forth, but give them some ideas on approach so that they feel comfortable. Because so often when we give somebody approach, they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good way to approach them. Instead of, sometimes people, especially people that don't listen well, they're horrendous with their approach. They can be really bad. So we have to make people feel comfortable, help them feel comfortable with reaching out to other people.
So, the thing, if you look on the slide, like I said, the old days, the average person knew or had access to 100 to 300 people. Today, it's thousands of people because of the internet, social media, cell phones. You can look, everybody can look in their cell phone and see how many names and numbers are in there. I mean, let's be honest, if the name and number is in there, you put it in there. Somehow the person. So there's just no reason to not get busy immediately while the new person is excited. Okay, but you can't just say go sick 'em tiger. They got to know that the support and backbone is there with them. Okay. And like April said, even if you're texting, going back and forth on the phone, but the movement has to start right away. Now, here's something that you should get excited about. I want you to understand what this means when you do it right. When you find a builder, okay, let's just call it somebody that becomes an MC3, an EC1, EC2, that's people doing 100, 2, 300,000 a month, a couple million a year in business. Okay. I want you to understand how powerful that is. That builder is going to support their downline, their team, 9 levels down. They're going to support their team. Okay. But their upline is earning off of everything they do, up to 9 levels above them. See, the builder, let's say the builder is you. You're getting paid on 9 levels, geometric progression of 9 levels of distributors and customers, consultants and customers. But if there's 9 people above you, they're getting paid on you. Okay. The building block in your business supports the upline and their downline. Okay. It's so powerful. And it always happens in the third, fourth, fifth level. And the numbers just say, do it. It's just, if you're looking at it happening between 1, 5, and 25 people, that's a total of 26 where I'm spinning my mouse there. It can and it does, but it's more likely to happen down here where there's 750 people. And that's why you and I, we need to do our part. We need to play our role in this business and get that first dollar earned. Get the person that we brought in, help them with the butterflies and jitters. Help them get the confidence they need to start doing what it takes to become financially independent. I mean, and that's a different number for everybody. But when you start, like April was talking about with the leveraged income, and you start talking to people, it may not sound like all the money in the world making 3, 4, 5,000 a month, but when you think about how much money you need to have in a savings account to make 5,000 a month, it is a lot of money. And the person that thinks about that, never in their lifetime do they think they would have that money in the bank. But they could see themselves building a business that throws off $5,000. We could just use a round number, $1 million, getting 5% is the 5,000. How many people do you think we're going to talk to out there that just have 1 million sitting there throwing off 5,000? Okay. I'm telling you that this is what everybody wants. Okay. But you and I, okay, we need to accept and take on the challenge and responsibility of getting at least one consultant under our new consultant. Okay. You dramatically increase the odds of getting to the sweet spot. And I already told you where the sweet spot, the geometric progression. It's down 125, 621, 625, 31, 25. It's third, fourth, fifth levels. That's where they are. That's where they pop up. And when they do pop up, lots of them pop up because it's that birds of a feather thing. People hang out with like minded, similar gold people. And the odds of you sponsoring a builder directly, you know, it's just lower than finding one on your fourth, fifth, or sixth level. It's just math. Okay. So my role, your role, is to find one and help the new consultant earn their first dollar. April?
Yeah, it gets back to we are in a networking business. We're no different than the insurance broker, the real estate, the hairdresser. Everybody has to let everybody know what you're doing. I mean, it's just, and I'm not saying you have to recruit them, but you got to let them know that this is your business, and what you have to offer them, because otherwise, like I said, you're stealing their opportunity. You're not letting them know your business, no different than that real estate agent. People buy real or use real estate agents that they know. I mean, when we sold our last home, it was a tennis friend. We deal with people we know. So we have to let people know. It can't be a secret. And it can't be just like I sell a weight loss product or I just sell a gut health product. You have to let them know the business that you're in. And networking is just about, staying in contact with a lot of people and letting them know what you do.
So I'm gonna cut off the slides in a second, but in summarizing the whole thing, your new consultant should start launching their new LifeVantage business immediately after enrolling with your help. Okay, but they should begin launching immediately. And launching means not waiting a month for us to do a launch, not waiting until they can get 10 or 12 people in their living room. It's getting the first person on the phone with you, on a Zoom with you immediately. And all they got to do is tell them why they're excited and why they're excited to introduce them to you. That's it. Okay. Start launching on day one. Why? Because it's never more exciting for a new person than it is when they first join. The nerves are going crazy and the excitement is going crazy simultaneously. It's the best time. So I'm going to stop sharing the slides and go back to my Hollywood squares. I like Hollywood squares. So what do you think, folks? We have a few minutes for some questions or comments. Feel free. Just you got to unmute yourself, but
I have a question.
go for it, D.
Okay, so I mean, I've signed up 5 consultants, but 4 of them are like, well, I just want to see if the product works first. Let me just be the product, and then I'll, look at building the business. So, I'm very direct, I'm very pushy, but I don't want to like be mean
Well,
or
and
be pushy. So
and
what do you say?
well, and that's why we did the training tonight because the ground rules need to be established before they join. And if they told you, "Hey, I'm ready to enroll, but I want to use the products first," you got to let them do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just got to go get some others, and that's the reason why we did what we did tonight, so that people will start laying out the ground rules up front and in advance, so you know and they know what to expect. And there's nothing wrong, and everybody, please hear this. There's absolutely nothing wrong with enrolling a new person and they want to use the product first. Then you just, hey, you got a new customer at least by even though they signed up as a consultant, you got a new customer. Nothing wrong with that. What I'm trying to say is let's start laying out what we're going to do from day one before they join and I'm glad you said that, D, because you can't change the rules after the game starts. You know what I mean? It's like a football game. You know what? The first half didn't go well. We're just going to change the rules at halftime. It's like we can't do that. So it's upfront. So great question, and that's how you handle it. And if you have 4 out of 5 that did that, then just go get some new ones and let them have their time with the product, and then revisit with them afterwards. Anyone else? Don't be shy, because if you're thinking of a question, so is everybody else.
All right, this is Debbie.
Hey, Deb.
Hey, building on what Dee asked, so you have these people who want to wait for an experience. So then what ground rules do you set about, okay, how long do you want to wait before you have an experience?
I don't know. It's funny how you say that, but I don't know that I would say it that way. Again, and I don't want to just repeat myself, but all of this stuff that comes up with product being used first is a result of the conversations that went on before they enrolled. Okay, so the reason that I'm bringing it up now, and April and I had talked about this, is that, if you're looking to get a person in the business that is going to build the business for the purpose of earning money, then the ground rules need to be laid out up front on that. If somebody's getting involved to use the products and they've said that up front, then I guess the one thing I would add, and April, chime in on this if you have something else, but the one thing I would add is when you see results and other people start asking, what are you using? You look younger, you look slimmer, you have more energy. What are you doing that's different than when I saw you last month? Say, will you be ready to discuss building a business when that happens? Give them, because that's kind of setting a deadline with them. Hey, your friends are going to start to notice things maybe before you do. And as soon as you hear something, you're going to be ready to get serious about talking about building a business, earning money, getting your product for free, and adding to that. April, would you do anything different on there or add to that? You're muted.
Sorry, I was trying to make sure you didn't get echo. Yeah, you know, I think it always gets back to what the initial conversation was. Was the initial conversation product, hoping to get into an opportunity, or was it opportunity backed by a product? So when you start with an opportunity, you sometimes will get customers. I just got one this weekend. You know, he was looking at the opportunity, decided he'd rather use the product, but he knows that there's an opportunity. We were talking opportunity first, and then he decided he wanted to use the product. So when you start with product and then move to opportunity, you know, they want to use the product. You sold them on a product first. You didn't sell them on an opportunity. If you sell them on an opportunity, then they want to use the opportunity. So it's really what, you know, we always mention both, but whatever you started with, and I think because of the company Bobby and I came from, the conversation of opportunity, and that's where, you know, we even said we felt like we got so far off track because all of a sudden we were like product. And, you know, I know that wasn't Bobby's comfort zone. He's like, I don't even recognize my business anymore. He says, I'm like doing weight loss and collagen and skincare. And he's just like, you know, just about out the door at that point. So, you know, we were always opportunity.
Well, and we were
that's
selling
what we're
$40,000 packages and $100,000 packages. We were selling like franchises. It's like, and then all of a sudden it's $250 in collagen or
Yeah.
weight or whatever it was. It's just like, you know,
And
it was
again,
different.
nothing wrong with the size of the package or anything. But when you're talking to somebody about an opportunity, that conversation is very different. And you know what? That opportunity can start with just being able to use product. You know, a lot of people don't even have that kind of money, but it's easier to help somebody earn money that wants to earn money as opposed to having a glorified customer on product, being able to afford that product month after month. Look at your customers. Look at how long your customers stay on. And I've got some great customers that have stayed on for a long time. But inevitably, a doctor either says they need to come off for this, or they run out of money, or maybe they feel like they're not getting results after a long time. They're on it a year or two. But you look at your consultants, even those ones that are not terribly active, they stay on the product and they're still always out there looking for somebody. So, you know, I rather start with a business and then just, you know, what is the business anyway? The business is these products, but, you know, this is how we're making money. That could be life-changing money. If you look at any of the text messages, anything I send out, everything is heavy opportunity these days. It's not a product. I rarely mention the product at all. So it's more the business on how we're going to make money and change people's lives. And I mean, just listen to the news, what's going on, you know, with our government shutdown, how many people aren't getting their money, haven't getting paid. Everybody's worried about missing a paycheck or two.
Think about this, folks, and you know there's a lot of fraud and a lot of scamming going on, but the real number is there's 42 million people getting, they used to call them food stamps. I guess they call them SNAP now or whatever it is. So getting whatever it is, government assistance. That's 15% of the population. That's 1 in every 8 people. So they are not getting many thousands of dollars a month. They're getting some assistance. There's a lot of people that would really, their lives would change making $500 or $1,000 a month. And we try and get them to buy our product and they don't have money to buy food or put gas in the car. Okay, so all we're trying to do, we can't change everything that we've already done with our businesses, but we can adjust the conversation moving forward. And one thing I would do, I would revisit, if you have consultants under you that have not done anything or have been very quiet for a while, I would just go back and just say, do you have a few minutes to talk? I'd like to revisit things with you. I'm not sure that and take the blame. All right. You take the blame. I'm not sure that I explained everything the way I should have when we first talked. People love when you fall on the sword, okay? So take the blame for it. Don't try and say like it wasn't my fault. Say it's all my fault, just like I'm saying now, and the reason we're doing the training tonight, okay? And just say, I'm not sure if I made it clear, just the kind of money that could be made here, anywhere from a few $100s to like you could use our products for free, all the way up to life-changing money. But is there anything in there that would be of interest to you? Is there anything that I could show you? Could you use an extra $500? Could you use an extra 1,000? Are you interested in bigger money? And just reopen the conversations with people. But more important, moving forward, whenever they turn the computers back on and we start enrolling again, okay, let's make sure that opportunity is included in the first conversation. Let's make sure that they understand you are in this to earn money because there's money to be earned. Make sure they know that. You're protecting your turf when you do that, okay? And that's the most important thing you could do is protect your turf, because there's a lot of people out there looking for better health and another source of income, and they hide it well, just like I did. My company was ready to go bankrupt, my picture frame and art gallery business, and nobody knew it from the outside looking in. Nobody. Okay. I hid it well, and maybe that's why nobody ever offered me an opportunity or April an opportunity. They ignored us with Amway. They ignored us with the Shake. The accountant that April worked with, man, he was in 8 or 10 of them over the 12 years they knew each other, and he never invited us to look at anything, and we never knew he was in something until April asked him to look at what her husband was doing. And because of that, we got to meet a mentor. And because of that, we got to earn millions of dollars. I invited myself to a meeting. And you've heard the story probably a bunch of times already, because the guy that I was talking to mentioned he was transitioning out of commercial real estate into this business full time. And I'm thinking, well, I'm transitioning out. You probably doing a better job than me. I'm going bankrupt. At least maybe you get to sell yours, but it immediately got my attention. So let's just focus on moving forward, and hopefully what we said helps. But the power of understanding, if you could go down a generation, it adds up to 5 times more than all the people above it. 5 can turn to 25. 25 can turn to 125. It never works perfectly, but I can tell you, April and I we lost count of this because the recruiting now has gotten in big numbers. But there was a time a few years back where I think we figured out we had recruited about 300 people over our 30 years. Probably at the 30-year mark, we had recruited about 300 personally. And that grew into tens of thousands of people and over $250 million in sales in the 30 years. Okay. So it didn't work perfectly, but it worked. We got some people involved that got nobody, and we got other people involved that got 50. Okay. It worked. It just doesn't work perfectly. So that's why you and I, knowing that, we got to instigate the activity under the new person until they know it. That's all this is. We instigate it because we're the pros and the experts. And when they will instigate it. So let's just take the lead role a little bit more.
I have a question.
Sure.
Since we want to put more pressure on building the business, can we get an video starting with the business and then going, instead of us, because to send to people for business, I would like to have a video which starts about earning money and then only goes to what what is the means of earning money. But first, it talks about how to earn money in this time.
We could just flip it.
Uh,
I'll take the opportunity one me and April do, and I'll go first and she'll go second.
Okay, that
And
can.
I'm just joking with you, Jaya. No,
Uh,
of course we can do that. Matter of fact, April found a really cool video that we actually used on Project Broadcast today. That was what, like 5 minutes, April, 4 or 5 minute the video you used
Yeah,
today?
I think it might be a little bit longer than that.
Post
And
it
okay,
in
so
Telegram so that they can
yeah,
see it.
so
yeah.
this is the way that I get creative with people I talk to and the way that I drip and stuff is this was a video that was confirmation on what's going on with LifeVantage done about 3 weeks ago by an independent. I think they're competing with and I always get this backwards, business for home or
Yeah,
home for
yeah,
business.
they are.
You
They're
know, that
they're
big
they're competitors.
organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the impression that based on some of the names involved already, but they're competing with that company. And what they do is they investigate companies to show that they're on the up and up. And so, a lot of times people, when you're dealing with them, particularly, if they don't have a lot of money, they're concerned with spending money that, there's so much scam and stuff out there. So I think it just cements what we're doing just from another voice that is not just Bobby's and mine. And so that's why I put it in there. But I'll put it in Telegram. It's pretty interesting. But again, it's all these different things that you drip on. We're networking. I don't know about you, but I know we have real estate people that we deal with and brokers, mortgage brokers and stuff, and they are always dripping on us. This is what's going. This is what's for sale. This is what's on the market. The banker, they're always dripping on you, and that this is what we really need to get more comfortable with. And you don't have to necessarily do project broadcast, but you could do your own texting, have a texting list where you are continually dripping on people, all these different things that we find. So I'll put that in Telegram for everyone.
Anyone else?
I
Go ahead,
think,
Dee.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jaya, but I'm thinking you're asking like maybe the company could have like this video on opportunity more than the products and then this small little like 30, 10
There,
seconds.
those are out there already on YouTube, Dee.
Oh, okay.
They're already on the LifeVantage YouTube. The one thing, and let's not get caught up in this. We should never send out an opportunity video to someone we haven't personally talked to and endorsed and shared why we did it and why we're in it and stuff. There's nothing wrong with talking money first. That's how I was groomed in this business, was to talk money first. But if that is still something to be sent after a conversation has already taken place. Okay,
But you know what?
Go ahead.
You know what? Wait. So the whole way that opportunity starts is what you say to that person, whether you personally called them up and they raised an issue needing extra money, or it's that person you meet and you have that conversation with. For us, we can be at the beach and they see the Jeep, and Bobby doesn't say, "Yeah, it's a nice Jeep." He says, "We won the Jeep with our company." Well, what do you do? Or you're on vacation and I'm able to be on vacation because I've created all this, leveraged income. Do you know what leveraged income is? No. Or I'm able to be retired and have a nice, supplemental income coming in for free. You have to love people. You have to take whatever your story is and be able to share it in an opportunity means. That's what we're saying. We're not saying necessarily rely on a video. It's your introduction of the opportunity to people. So, Jaya, maybe you want to say I was able to, retire from my medical practice with still having a really nice reoccurring income. Well, how did you retire? You were a doctor. Oh my goodness. So you have to take whatever your situation is, and for Marge, she's a great golfer. She's really, really good at golfing. She's around a lot of people, hey, this allows me to golf all day and still make the money I was making when I was working full time. That's the kind of stuff that we have to be able to say. And then people will say, well, tell me more.
Well, and
then,
I'll tell you what I did for 3 years. That our mentor in the first company, I wasn't even telling my story or April's story. I was telling his story. When I was
Right.
talking to people, I said, hey, I met this hillbilly truck driver from Tennessee that was making $33,000 a year as a Teamster. And a few years later was making $1 million a year. And I got to be in business with him. Would you like to talk to him? I mean, that was like what I did for 3 years. And we made $1 million in the 3 years combined. Our first 3 years in the business, we had earned $1 million. And it was telling his story. So, whatever story you want to tell, it's not a magical video. It's just, we, you've heard, I hate to use these terms, these like when they say pain point or something. I don't like to use those industry terms, but people generally give you what it is that's bothering them. They generally give it to you. Okay, I can't take off. I'm out of vacation days. I can't even use up my sick days, or I need to take cash for my vacation days. I can't afford to go away, or my health. My stomach this, my shoulder that, my weight this, my skin this. They generally give you somewhere to start. And that's like the best place to start. And you've heard April say this: I might have something that could help that. I might have something that could help you with whatever they said, whatever it is that they said. So, and again, this is all great stuff. And I'm glad you're giving feedback, because I think if we all start refocusing our conversation and our words and using leveraged income as an example, and use that, just say, do you realize 5,000 a month is the same as having $1 million in the bank? How many of your friends are just sitting on $1 million in their checking account? I mean, it's stuff like that would just get conversations rolling, and that's the whole point of tonight. It's to just kind of readjust the conversation a little bit to include money and opportunity a little more, but understand every opportunity we get to push it down a level, it's like 5 times more than everything above. And when it'd be like fishing in a pond or fishing in the ocean. Well, it's going to be a limited size fish that you can get in the pond. But in the ocean, there is no limit to the size of the fish that you can get. Well, that's what happens every time we go down a level and develop another level. It's like going from a pond to a lake to an ocean. Okay. And everything gets bigger the more it goes down. And if we want it to go down, we just adjust the conversation a little bit. And you know what's great about it? Everyone on here, we could start with what we just talked about tonight, first thing in the morning, and just change dialogue with everything. And you know what's cool about this business? We can go back and revisit with every person that ever enrolled and every person we ever talked to and say, I need to clarify some things we talked about 3 months ago or 6 months ago. And that's the beauty of it. And that's one of the things I love most about this business. You get to revisit, you get to go back and correct, you get to go back and paint a bigger vision. So
Okay.
we good?
Bobby, can I say something? What over the Dallas weekend was amazing was speaking with you and Dee, Wayne, April. Get to the depth of the conversation. No icing. Get to the depth, ask questions, but get into the depth of it. And that's what I got out of that weekend.
Yeah, that's what they call the pain point, the word I hate. It's just like, but that is what they talk about. There's always a true underlying truth. There's always a truth that's kind of buried down there and sugar coated and frosted and cherry on top. But there is a truth down there. And when you get to that, you get real. So, anyway, thanks for your attention tonight. Most important, thanks for your time. And we'll have our launch dates by next Sunday. And if there's anything, we have our executive call tomorrow. If there's anything to announce right away, you'll all get a text and we'll post it in Telegraph. So have a good night. Thanks for your time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.